This is definitely one of the most dangerous experiments in human history. Astronauts from 7 countries decided to fire up a massive particle collider on the International Space Station to see if the so-called God particle really exists. Just as they were about to start, a sci-fi writer from Earth warned them that repeated particle collisions could tear the fabric of space-time, causing 2 dimensions to collide and possibly unleashing terrifying creatures from another world. Who would listen to a writer, right? As the astronauts placed the gyroscope into the main processor, the collider powered up. The whole station shook with the impact of high-speed particle collisions, and everyone was on edge since this was their last experiment. Just when Engineer Lewis excitedly announced that they successfully collided particles, disaster struck. The collider overloaded, and the station exploded, sending everyone spinning. Before they could even process what happened, they were pulled to the ceiling by a strange anti-gravity force. The experiment failed, but this time was different. The particle mysteriously vanished after a flash of white light. No matter how much they called out, the command center couldn't get any signals. The captain thought the ignition flipped the station, so he had Ava check all the cameras for Earth, but no matter the angle, Earth was nowhere to be found. Panic set in as they rushed to other observation windows, but they all came up empty. Tensions rose, and some thought the station's positioning system was down, believing fixing the gyroscope would help them find Earth again. But then they realized in horror that the gyroscope and the main processor had vanished too. Just when they were at a loss, a terrifying roar echoed through the station. 2 astronauts followed the sound and found Engineer Lewis standing still, urging them to be quiet. He cautiously approached the wall, and suddenly, a horrifying scream came from inside. Lewis said the sound was coming from the wall, and they quickly unscrewed it. When they opened the metal panel, they were shocked to find a woman trapped inside, cables piercing her body as she screamed in pain. They rushed to cut the wires and freed her, but confusion set in. There were originally 7 astronauts, and now there was 1 more. Who was she? Just then, a Russian astronaut felt something off with her eyes. As she checked herself out in the mirror, she seemed to have a hallucination, talking to herself. She then found Paul, who was fixing the station, and looked ready to shoot. Just as she aimed, Jack suddenly started foaming at the mouth and collapsed, and they rushed him to the med bay. But in a shocking twist, Jack spewed out a bunch of worms, sending the astronauts into a panic as they scrambled to escape the slimy mess. What happened next would completely shatter their understanding of reality. If you want to see what happens next, make sure to subscribe.